Now, as I tune into your energy, there's like a lot of warring questions. So, my friend, do you have an area that you'd like a specific question or an area you'd like the guides to focus on?
Oh my goodness. I would say no, not specifically. I feel I have questions in general, that kind of come up in regards to guidance, about life. So nothing specific.
Guidance in life. Is there anything about romantic interest that's in your space? Your face says no.
I think I'm more so focused on the me aspect of things and making sure that I'm in a good space before I can then open myself up to romance.
Okay, because that was the question that was coming up from your guides, but I want to make sure that you're comfortable with that.
Okay. Yeah, we could talk about it. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. First of all, your guides want you to know, Erica, that you're much further along on the path that you than you think you are. My read is that sometimes your inner voice can be just a little bit hard on you still. Though you're getting tremendously better at that. I feel that the default programming for you may sometimes be to question yourself. And I don't feel that you're so much, it may have been something in the past, but I don't feel like you're so much disparaging of yourself. I just think it's more of a confidence. And I think the confidence the questioning comes to from a place of integrity, meaning you keep wanting to be the best that you can be. And to some degree, you've learned that in order to do that, you have to keep questioning yourself so that you don't rest on your laurels. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah, absolutely. It
So your
does.
guides would like to invite you to loosen your grip on that a little bit. And they were sharing my guides, but maybe your guides too, because there's no time or space. One of the things that I was thinking about the other day for myself, but again, perfect synchronicity, is I was thinking about, I've been doing this now for 15 years, and I think I was always kind of good, but I've gotten much, 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 much better. Right? You keep getting better. Part of that's practice, right? But a lot of it's confidence. A lot of it's confidence, because when I started doing this work, like you, I had so much integrity and I was so worried about, steering anybody wrong, that I questioned myself a lot. And I don't think that's the bad thing to do when you're just starting off doing readings. And, again, you want to listen to the client and give them authority always. But I've realized that as I become more confident in myself and in my life, just in all ways, my life has gotten really more delightful, right? Because now I have learned to listen to my own intuition, to my own inner compass, to my own inner truth. And the more I trust in and follow that, the stronger it becomes. And then I live everything from there. And so your guides want to invite you to know that you're way more tapped in than you think, that you hear your guidance in terms of like what feels right to you, what doesn't feel right to you, what's the next best step when something is like off or someone is off and you like don't really want to do what they think that you should do, or you don't really agree with their opinion of the situation or their opinion of you, all of that stuff. Like, you are tapped in so much more than you know. And so what they really want you to do more and more is trust yourself, because again, they're saying you're so much further along on this journey than you know. And that if you would start to trust in how far along you are in this journey, rather than questioning yourself because you don't want to be like egotistical or irresponsible, or you're going to do so much better. And oftentimes, too, the last thing I'm going to say, and then I'll see how this is landing. The last piece, too, is
Is often
oftentimes in this human world, we've been taught to give our authority to external things, external people's opinions, people with lots of letters after their names. Don't don't do that. At least not with me, right? Things that you read in a book that, a teacher said is smart. I'm a college professor now, and I always joke, like, I still want my students to find their answers, right? But we're taught that I have the answers as a college professor, and you have to like agree with what I say. So a lot of times, those of us who have a lot of integrity, like you do, we're we're testing our inner wisdom against a metric that is irrelevant, right? Rather than doing it the other way around, which is looking at the information in the world and seeing, how does this fit with me? Does this feel right to me? And if it doesn't feel right to you, it's okay to say, that doesn't feel right. I'm going to tune back into what does. Okay. And that's when we start to learn to trust and hear our inner authority more. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It does. I definitely feel that a lot of the voices that I have internally have progressed and have been um very harsh voices, and I've learned to differentiate what those are, and just making sure that I do question myself. I do question my motives and things that I do, just because I want to make sure that it is coming from a place of integrity, and that it's coming from a place of love and care, for everyone involved, not just myself. Um, and I do, yes, I definitely do have the thoughts of, I should be further along. I think that's a very common thought for me
Yeah.
personally, and I do forget to kind of settle into the now, and remember that, I
Yeah.
am in a good space.
Yeah. Well, they're saying a couple more things on that. If you don't mind my elaborating, they're saying you're further along than you know. So when you say I should be further along, it's sort of like, if you're trying to go from the West Coast to the East Coast, you think you're in Arizona, but you're actually like in Pennsylvania. Oh, Pennsylvania is the East Coast. Okay, Ohio. You know what I mean? You're in Pennsylvania, like just, not all the way to the coast yet, right? So your metric and your understanding is, and it's normal. We always want to keep going. So no matter, unlike, traversing the United States, well, actually, the if the earth is round, as many people believe, you'll just keep going. But you're always going to want more. You're always going to be expanding. There's not an endpoint that you're seeking. There might be a temporary endpoint because we like to have goals in the human world, but you're going to keep surpassing those goals. That's just the nature of the human experience. But so don't worry as you continue, through Pennsylvania and New Jersey and over the coast. You will not sink in the sea. You'll just come up with new places that you want to visit. But they just want you to know you're way further along than you think. And the other thing that they want to say to you, Erica, and it's so important, so I hope you can hear this, is that you are an incredibly loving soul. You're an
Mm,
incredibly loving soul with a deep built-in amount of integrity. And it's funny because they're giving me the example of when I work with people in a clinical setting where they have these intrusive thoughts, right? And so a kid might have like a random intrusive thought, like, maybe I want to kill my best friend, right? And it gives them a lot of stress because, they don't want to kill their best friend, right? And one of the first things that I tell them, I know that's dark, but sometimes we have these weird thoughts, right? One thing I tell them is, first of all, we're all going to have weird thoughts and, don't worry about those. But the second thing is the way that you know that you're not going to do it is the amount of distress you have when you have that thought. Okay. And for you, that's what they want you to know. The amount of stress that you have about not acting in integrity just shows how much integrity you have. So at this point, it might be a really good time to just like let the overthinking go and just trust that I have a lot of integrity. And I tend to make choices that are aligned with that deep desire to be of service and that deep desire to be in alignment with my higher self and others. And so I don't have to really sweat the small stuff or worry about it so much anymore because I can trust that I'm just naturally, that's how I'm wired. What sometimes happens is we learn not to trust ourselves because people in our world, right, that, maybe a little bit more an ego than you are and that we are, they see how much integrity that we have. And, because they're feeling like anxious or afraid, or they're operating a little bit more in their fear-based scarcity mind, they can sometimes be manipulative and make us question ourselves because they want to be our authority, because they want that control, because they, sadly don't trust in their own abundance and their own joy and their own power and their own nature. And so they mistakenly think that they need to control others for their own well-being. Now you are so far beyond that place, but some people probably in your world
mhm.
weren't that way. And so this is just undoing that conditioning and just reminding yourself that I am my own authority. And when I really listen truly and deeply to myself, I cannot go wrong. So I just want to let you know that. Okay. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
I love you so much, and your guys love you so much. And I can't wait for the day when you can see you. I know you're getting there, where you can see yourself more and more the way they see you, because it's really beautiful, and the way others see you too. So
Thank you.
namaste.